Have you ever wondered how a pair of Meta glasses compares to a real professional action camera? I have here the newest GoPro Hero 13 Black, the best action camera on the market, and I'm going to be comparing it to the Meta glasses with the best camera, the Oakley Vanguard. Dropped less than a month ago. By the end of this video, you'll know which one of these is right for you. If you do enjoy this comparison, go ahead and think about subscribing. The button's right down there, and it's pretty fun to push. So there's a lot of differences between these two devices, but there is some overlap about who might want to use them. If you didn't know, these AI glasses, the Oakley Meta Vanguards, record great POV content, albeit in 3x4 vertical at 3K 30 FPS and all the way down to 720 120 frames a second or 1080 60. The GoPro Hero 13 Black does 5.3K 60 FPS. You can use it as a POV camera, or you can use it as a normal camera, a vlogging camera, mount it to whatever you want. And you can do up to 400 frames per second burst slow motion or 2.7K 240 FPS, which is absolutely ludicrous. Plus, this thing might have some better waterproof capabilities. First, let's take a look at the picture quality. So the Oakley Meta Vanguard shoot in 12 megapixels in the 3x4 vertical format, and the GoPro Hero 13 Black shoots at 27 megapixels. I know, pretty crazy, but how much of a difference does that really make? Well, here you have my hand. Let's zoom into 250% to see how good the detail is when we go up close. And now let's go to 500% zoom. As you can see, here you can really tell the difference between 27 megapixels and 12 megapixels. It's really just when you zoom in. Traditionally, people use large megapixels if they're going to create a canvas print of a photo and say put it on the wall, and it's like 2 to 4 feet wide or larger. That's really where you're going to get the most benefit out of having a lot of megapixels. Or if you want to crop into an image and just have an image of that part and forget the rest of the photo. Those are really the only two reasons you need. Other than that, 12 megapixels is plenty, and 12 megapixels is actually the perfect number for low light footage as well. But let's take a look at a low light picture, and as you can see, it looks pretty similar. I don't really think either one of these looks aggressively better than the other in low light, in my opinion. Now, these both also feature a hyperlapse mode. You can imagine this as like a really fast forwarded video that's really great if you are going on a run or a bike ride and you just want to see the scenery change really quickly without having to watch minutes of footage. Now, there's a couple things that I noticed here. One, the GoPro's footage is more stable in this hyperlapse. With the Oakley Vanguards, it kind of moves around a lot. And the main reason for that is because I wear the Vanguards on my head and I have to check for traffic, but with the GoPro on my chest, it doesn't move every time I turn my head. And fair enough, you could just put the GoPro on the head and it'd be a more fair comparison. But that's the thing with the Oakley Vanguards. You can't just put them on your chest. You have to wear them on your head. So this is what hyperlapses are going to look like. And unless you want to ignore all safety laws and not turn your head when you cross the street, you're probably going to have to cut those parts of the video out. The GoPro also has way more time-lapse / hyperlapse options. The one I used was time warp, and if you've noticed, it goes actually a little bit faster than the Oakley Vanguard's footage. But it also has dedicated modes for star trails, vehicle lights, and even light painting. And that's kind of the really big thing you get from the GoPro is you get a lot more control over your video and camera settings. I mean, look at all these settings right here when you go into Pro Mode. Now, let's compare that to the settings that you get in the Oakley Vanguards. One thing that is different is you do get more control over how much stabilization you have in the Oakley Meta Vanguards versus in the GoPro, which is an interesting fact. With the GoPro, you either get super great stabilization or not really any. Whereas you have low, medium, and high or auto select with the Vanguard. So that's pretty cool. But I like to stay with low all the time because it gives you the widest field of view. Speaking of field of view, here's a little field of view test. Now, the GoPro allows you to shoot in horizontal, vertical, or in the full frame 7x8, which is almost a square, to get whatever aspect ratio you want. The Oakley Vanguards, it's stuck on that 3x4 vertical. But if you set it to 1080, set the stabilization to low, you get a really wide field of view. But how does it compare to the field of view of a GoPro? Well, even in vertical mode, you actually get a wider field of view with the GoPro versus the Oakley Vanguards. I'm standing the exact same distance away from the wall wearing both of these. And you'll notice I have Netflix projected onto my wall to where it's about 5 feet tall. With the Vanguards, you get from the top of the Netflix sign all the way down to where it says kids. But you don't get the bottom box. But on the GoPro, when you switch it to the full frame mode, which takes up the entire sensor, you actually get more vertical space than the Vanguards, even though it's not a vertical image. All the way from the top of the Netflix, all the way down to the extra entire button, which is is like another 6 inches. And you get a wider shot as well. On top of that, this is 5.3K, so you can zoom in, make it vertical, make it horizontal, and the quality, the pixels will still be amazing. And you might not think field of view matters, but it really does, especially when you're doing up close action sports like rock climbing. You can see it in this footage here, but on the GoPro, even though it's not vertical, I can see more of my legs and my hands than on the Oakley Vanguards. It's actually really cool. So for things like rock climbing or up close sports, the wider field of view is going to make a world of difference. That being said, Oakley Vanguard's still really good for reels, but the GoPro is wider both horizontally and vertically at the same time. So you can repurpose this into YouTube footage, into Instagram reel footage, whatever you want, and it will look amazing. Now, I mentioned the slow motion earlier, so we're going to progressively go up and I'm going to show you each of those. First up is 60 FPS. This is basically 50% slow motion, not super slow. Before I resume the video, you can see that the Vanguard, in order to shoot 60 FPS, has to be all the way down at 1080p, way less than its 3K total limit, which means you're not really going to be able to zoom in, make it a horizontal frame for things like YouTube without the quality getting worse. But the GoPro at 60 FPS, 50% slow-mo, you can still shoot in 5.3K, the very max resolution in that basically square image. Now you can punch into horizontal, you can punch into vertical, punch into square, you can do whatever you want, zoom in a lot, and the quality will still look amazing, and you still get 60 FPS. As far as the detail is concerned, they both look pretty good, but the massive resolution increase on the GoPro just makes it an easy winner. Next, we have 120 FPS. This is a really great slow-mo. You can do like 4x slow-mo in 30 FPS or 5x slow-mo if you're doing 24 frames a second. So I'll start out with the GoPro here. Looks amazing. I can basically go to 200% zoom and it will still look crystal clear. Now when I throw it up, let's switch it to the Vanguards. This is 120 FPS as well, but it's only at 720p, which in my opinion does not look great. Honestly, wouldn't use this. I would probably just use 1080 60 FPS and just take the 50% slow-mo. It looks way better than the 720, not just a little bit better, but way better. So if you're going to use the Oakley Vanguards and use slow-mo, 1080 60 is probably going to be a better solution for you to still retain the really good quality. Now, of course, it doesn't end there because the GoPro can go past this. First up, we have 240 frames a second, which is 8 times slow-mo, still shot at 2.7K. So almost at 3K, the resolution that the Oakley Vanguard goes to max at 30 FPS, the GoPro can do at 2.7K, 240 frames a second. So let's look how crazy that is. That is just amazing amount of detail. You can see all the water droplets, and there's still sound in this video, which is really, really nice. That 720, 120 FPS back with the Oakley Vanguard, there's no sound. So you still retain that in the GoPro when doing slow-mo, even ultra slow slow-mo, which is really nice. Next, we have 720p, 400 frames a second. Now this is in a 15-second burst mode, so you can shoot 15 seconds of footage. It will slow that down to 400 frames a second. It's shot in 720p, and after that 15 seconds, it's gonna stop your video. So that's 15 seconds of real-time footage. So if you're using this mode, you're not gonna be recording for minutes at a time. It's just when you know something epic is gonna happen. Now look at the detail of this. It is quite incredible. You can still see all the water droplets, but definitely not as good as the 2.7K 240 FPS because that resolution is so much higher. And again, we're still getting the sound here. The fact that you can get sound at 400 FPS is kind of insane. Like, it honestly is crazy. Now this is really cool, but the quality is looking more similar to what the 720p on the Oakley Vanguard was, which honestly wasn't that great. So to be fair, I probably would not use this because the quality drop from 2.7K to 720p is insane. It's not great quality and it forces you to zoom in the frame more. But 240 FPS is way more than enough for 8 times slow motion, 10 times slow motion if you shoot in 24 FPS. Here's one of me doing a backflip in the yard. This is in 400 FPS slow-mo. As you can see, just like I was saying, the quality does not look great, but it is a really cool amount of slow-mo. Now you can achieve basically the same effect though with 2.7K 240 FPS. So if you look at this video, I've actually ramped it all the way down to 10% speed, and the quality, the crispness of the detail is just so much better. So I would use this mode every single time over that 400 FPS burst slow-mo, unless there's something that you want to see way slower that you just can't do, where 10 times slow motion isn't enough. But yeah, the detail's amazing, slow-mo is amazing, everything about the shot and like the field of view, it's great. The 2.7K 240 FPS slow-mo, I just love this. Now before we do some of the extreme testing and the high quality testing for the Vanguard versus the GoPro, we do have to talk about battery life. Now before the recent glasses released this year, Meta was not super known for having good battery life. Luckily, these do have 9 hours, but if you're recording video, you get closer to like an hour worth of footage, again split up into smaller increments because you can only record 5 minutes max on 1080/30 or 3 minutes max on 3K30. So So let's just use that 3K30, a little less than an hour of recording. Now with the GoPro, you'd assume this is a dedicated camera. It looks way thicker than this does. You could probably fit a way bigger battery into this. But as far as recording, if you're doing the 5.3K max resolution, you're actually only getting 1.5 hours of battery life out of this thing. So you end up having to bring extra batteries with you if you're doing a lot of high resolution footage. If you go all the way down to 1080/30, which no one is doing on this, there's no reason to do that, then you can get 2.5 hours of battery life, which still is not that much. So honestly, the battery life is pretty comparable with these. And if you don't actually shoot a lot of video, these will last longer and you won't have to turn them off because they can enter into a standby mode when you close the sides, put it in the case, maybe when it's in your pocket. It's just easier to keep these things charged for longer than it is for this. So for battery life, I'm gonna give it to the Oakley Vanguards. Now, obviously the main thing you're gonna be using an action camera for, a POV camera, is really fast-paced, extreme sports type stuff. So I've set up a pretty crazy obstacle course. Let me let past Steven tell you about it. Now we're gonna test the stability. So I got a little parkour run planned out here. I'm gonna swing from this tree onto the trampoline. Then I'm gonna sort of front flip off the trampoline, land in the grass over here, run this way, do a flip off of this mini trampoline, vault over this sawhorse thing, come around, go under the hammock, over the railing, and then I'm gonna jump onto the roof, run over here, and then jump off of the roof. And we'll see how stable the footage is. So this footage, both of these cameras look really, really great. They both get plenty of the field of view. I feel a little bit less encumbered with the Vanguards because I'm just wearing sunglasses at that point, and I know they're not gonna fly off. Like I did a front flip off of my roof, smashed onto the trampoline, flew in every direction. Glasses still did not fall off, even after 3 flips and a lot of crazy stuff. So Vanguards stay on great, and you don't need a bunch of extra equipment. Now the field of view with the GoPros in that footage was really, really nice. You could see more of what was going on, both horizontally and vertically, and you have more accessibility as far as what you can convert the video into, horizontal or vertical, depending on the platform you're posting to. That being said, there's something that we've been neglecting so far in this video, and it is really important when it comes to recording really cool POV footage. Always so much fun. And that is setup time. So right now I have these two Stevens, and I'm gonna see which one can set up faster and how much faster it is to set up and get ready to record. As you can see, Meta Steven is already done. GoPro Steven, well, it was kind of twisted, so it took a little longer. And this is a serious thing, not only because it takes longer to set up, but also because if you're wearing a chest mount, people are probably gonna look at you. They're gonna know like, oh, this guy's recording this. He must be like a professional or something. Whereas the Oakleys, a lot more low key. You can block the LED, which I'll show you in 2 days from now when that video posts. It's faster to set up and it's more comfortable to wear, and you don't have to worry about the clothes you're wearing or anything. It's just easier to use, to be honest. Okay, now let's max out the resolution capabilities of both of these. We're gonna go 5.3K 60 in the GoPro and 3K 30 in the Oakley Vanguards to see what those really look like. And yeah, honestly, they both look great. 3K 30 in the Oakley Vanguards looks amazing, and 5.3K 60 looks amazing on the GoPros. The GoPros do tend to shoot a little bit darker, whereas the Metas have a more of an HDR look, a little bit brighter of an image, but you can adjust that in post really easily, so that doesn't really matter too much. The interesting thing is you do get a wider field of view in the GoPro, both horizontally and vertically, as I showed you earlier with the wall test. And the sound quality in both of these, I'll let you listen to it. Is really good. I really don't know if I have a preference. Maybe it's better in the Oakleys because they have 5 microphones, but who's to say? But there is one area that the Oakley Vanguards just can't compete in that the GoPro absolutely destroys, and that is how waterproof they are. Now the Vanguards kind of claim to be waterproof in their trailer, but the truth is Meta released a statement saying it's not safe to take them underwater at all. The GoPros, it is completely the opposite. This is official GoPro footage from their channel. They actually can take this fully underwater. There's different cases to make it so you can go even further down. It's honestly insane, and the quality, the 5.3K 60, it's like kind of unbelievable how amazing of underwater footage you can get with a GoPro, and you just can't do that with the Vanguards. You can't go underwater with them. You can splash them, but you really should not go underwater, according to Meta releasing their statement after the Vanguards actually came out. These Vanguards also have the benefit of being more than just a camera. You can ask AI questions, have John Cena tell you about your running pace, listen to music, and even call and message people. Which one do you think is for you? Which one is better? Honestly, these two are a lot closer in a lot of scenarios than you would think. I still think if you're doing really extreme sports stuff, you're riding a dirt bike, doing flips on hills, you can't really beat the GoPro because you have the most versatility. You can use it for horizontal or vertical footage, and you can shoot in really high resolutions and be able to do slow-mo later. Like, you get so much more flexibility, so much more video settings, a bunch of different time-lapse modes. But the Oakley Vanguards, they're just easy to use. You just have them on throughout your day. You can record meaningful moments. You can do auto capture with Garmin, where it periodically records videos and does a little AI summary for you if you're doing a run or something. And they're just easy to use, easy to carry around. They're low profile, and they're just great, to be honest. On top of that, when you're not recording videos, you can listen to your favorite music, ask AI questions about the world around you, and you have sunglasses that are blocking the sun and dirt because of how much coverage these have. So I think the Vanguards do a lot of what the GoPros can do, and most people probably don't need a GoPro, to be honest. But if you're still doing that really crazy extreme sports stuff, you need crazy 240 FPS, 2.7K slow-mo, the GoPro is really hard to beat. But what do you think? Put your thoughts in the comments. Is there a clear winner in this video? Which one would you rather have? Leave it all down there. Thank you so much for watching. Until next time.